What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is March Madness, and I'm still going through Netflix movies and revisiting the best of the best that I don't have reviews up for yet, and I think I can do 31 of them. And I took a little bit of a risk here because I've always wanted to see this. This is actually my first time. This was a cold watch, but this movie's been recommended to me so many times and I've avoided it. Um, Largely just because I've just never really wanted to, like, I've never really had that big of a drive. But everybody I've always talked to about this movie always says that Zac Efron's performance was good. So this is Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, which is directed by Joe Berlinger, who is mostly known for documentaries. So click like and subscribe because we're going to get into it. And I'm a blind film critic that talks a lot about accessibility and audio description and that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have a voice in the space, especially when companies are being told not to have diversity, equity, inclusivity measures anymore, which are the kind of measures that actually expand accessibility for people like me. So now I have to become a begging influencer so that I have a wave of people behind me now when I say something, so they listen. Anyway, it's exhausting. Extremely Wicked it's the Ted Bundy movie starring Zac Efron, Lily Collins, really those two, and then downstream from them we have a whole bunch of people in the supporting cast: Jim Parsons, Kaya Scodelario, John Malkovich. I don't know. There was Dylan Baker was in this. Um, yeah, it was a pretty decent supporting cast, but in some ways, this is really Lily Collins's movie because this is based on a book told from the perspective of Ted Bundy's girlfriend. Like, he had one and somehow maintained enough sanity to have this one steady relationship. Uh, and how weird that is, to be in that juxtaposition. And she was defending him early on and didn't believe that somebody like him could do these terrible things. And, the one thing I've always heard about Ted not being somebody who was sort of aware around during his court cases was that he was charismatic, and people found him to be charismatic even during his own trial. But ultimately, the things he was being accused of, and as you hear, sort of in the end, when they include some of the stuff, sort of, because Joe is, again, a documentarian, he includes some of the real interviews and footage from the time period. And there's somebody who says, "It was the bite marks for me." Like a juror that was saying, what really did him in. The matching bite marks. So, yeah, I made it through it. It's not as brutal as I thought it would be. It has some brutal descriptions, but it mostly isn't from his perspective, it's from hers. So you end up cutting away quite a bit to Lily Collins and her dealing with her friends, coworkers, family, whatever. And these other characters that were sort of around Ted's life and what it was like for them to see this person they didn't think could do this be accused of this, and the trial, and Ted saying, I didn't do this, I'm going to defend myself. And Zach is probably a really good casting choice for this. I mean, he is charismatic, he's charming, he's good looking, he's everything that supposedly Ted was. And he doesn't quite bring the danger to it. But he does bring everything else, and the film just kind of has a different tilt to it. It takes a different approach. it's not quite as interested. It's adapted on a novel that's written from her perspective. So it's not going to go, it's not going to let Zac Efron go full on monster here. It's really just going to tell it from her perspective. What was it like to be her? So it's easily Lily Collins' best performance because she usually doesn't get dramatic work. If you want a hot take on that, she gets stuck in things like Mirror Mirror from all up to Emily in Paris. Rarely does anybody ever require her to do anything with any dramatic weight behind it. So even though Zach was the one who got a lot of the attention, I actually was more impressed by Lily Collins because Lily Collins is usually just never offered a role like this. So she's busy trying to make Emily in Paris seem like it's good television. When I think most people hate watching that show. But anyway, so yeah, Joe is, I mean, his whole resume is just documentaries all the way through. He went back, he was Paradise Lost. Like, that's way back in the day. He did the Paradise Lost documentary series and continues to make documentaries today, even after Extremely Wicked. He just doesn't really seem to be terribly interested in making a feature, a narrative feature. So it is interesting to see him do one. And be sort of so recognized as a documentarian. But, well, I think it's a good movie. I just don't think it's a great one. Like, I think he directed a really solid movie from her perspective, and it's interesting to see it flipped around. A lot of times we get movies from the same perspective, and they keep getting repeated over and over and over and over. And sometimes it feels like we're seeing the same thing, and it's always the same person. It's always through the same lens, through the same person's viewpoint. So the fact that somebody decided to adapt this book and tell it from her perspective instead of trying to tell another Ted Bundy movie or whatever is a refreshing take on it. And that's kind of what makes it stand out from the pack, is that it is we've sort of moved the camera. Everybody else is shooting straight on, and Joe's over there shooting from the profile, from the side. And that would be the reason to watch this, and why it stands out from the pack, is because it feels like everybody else is shooting Ted straight on, and he's more interested in the profile. So, yeah, Extremely Wicked is well described. The audio description track. I was always worried about, like, I was like, how bad is this gonna be? I don't love movies about serial killers and violence and gore and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't watch the first season of Monster. I don't like us glorifying things, and stuff like this. This is kind of where it makes me start feeling weird, is when we start like elevating and making cinematic so that people think, oh, well, I could be a serial killer too, and one day people will make movies about me. Oh, who's going to play me in a movie? Like, I don't want anybody to think that. So this is kind of like the genre that I wish we didn't have that much of, because I don't want people to watch this and be like, oh, Zac Efron could play me in a movie one day. Let me get right on that and give Netflix a reason to make a movie about me. No, please don't. Like, no. So, yeah, I'm very much one of those people that supports the idea of don't say the name. We keep saying the names, but of these, mass shooters and everybody, they still keep putting their names out there, but please stop saying them. Stop giving them the kind of press and the attention, that's exactly what they're seeking. So, yeah, I was conflicted. And it took me a while to get this. The movie was released in 2019. It took me 6 years to watch this movie. But if I wanted to cold watch something, and I figured it was about time to watch Extremely Wicked, which nobody has ever said was bad, to me. I mean, I never heard it was the best movie on Netflix, but I've never heard it was bad. So I kind of agree with that. I agree that Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile is worth a watch, especially if you're on that fence of, is Zac Efron a good actor? He's in a couple of performances where, yeah, you could marathon them, and then by the end of your day, you would be like, yep, he can act. Should he ever want to or be up for an Oscar nomination, it wouldn't be the weirdest thing in the world at this point if you watched this, um, Paperboy, Greatest Beer Run Ever, and Iron Claw. I think those four movies would give you a much different perspective on Zac Efron as an actor. There's probably another movie in there somewhere that somebody would bring up. But at least those four would probably do it for you. So check it out. I'm giving it a B. Uh, yeah. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Inclusivity is not a bad word. It just means to include. Like, include me in audio description and accessibility and those kind of conversations. And I will see you guys on the other side.